Hey everyone, I'm Ryan,
And I'm Olivia.
and welcome back to our fourth Finding True North. Finding True North is about sharing the pivotal lessons and moments that can help you navigate your career.
And we started this because with the global situation that we're in right now, it's very difficult to either network or get career education or advice. So we are inviting some inspiring people to join us to explain their mindset throughout their career journey so that you can apply it to your own
I think I may have paused my side.
life and test network. And mine's going to explain more about how this episode is going to work.
I'm back now, my connection went. So, as usual with these sessions, we are taking Q&A as well. There's a couple ways you can do it. So if you want to participate in the poll and ask questions anonymously, you can do that through typing in slido.com into your browser and using the code FTN, which stands for Finding True North. Or you can also ask questions in the comments section. We're going to have a talk from Sina, our guest, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. So very happy to have Sina come and join us. He is a team lead at Shell. I actually know him through our work together on the Tech Allies Network as a committee member. So I've already had an insight into all the amazing things you've done, from traveling abroad, from going from an individual contributor to leading a team. So I'm very excited, and I'll pass it over to you, Sina.
Well, thank you, Ryan and Olivia, for having me. Really appreciate the work you're doing with Finding True North. I think it's a great initiative. So first of all, I hope everyone is safe and well in this current situation. So I'll just start off by giving you an overview of my career. So I'll start with A-levels back in 2008. I actually picked my A-levels to pursue a career in dentistry. So I picked maths, biology, chemistry, and physics. And then I think it was a week before we started that I had a change in heart, and I actually picked maths, IT, and computer science because that was my passion. I was always into technology. So I think that was the first pivotal moment in my life where I made that change, and I don't regret that change right now. So I did my A-levels in 2008 to 2010, and in 2010 I went to Keele University, where I studied information technology management for business, which was a combination of computer science modules and business management modules. And in my second year, I was looking for a summer internship, and summer internships were quite difficult to get hold of, especially in your second year. And I was at a career fair, and we had all the different recruiters from all the different companies there. And to be honest, I was really looking at going into the banking industry or proper IT technology companies. But I came across Shell while I was there, and the recruiter gave me a leaflet, and they were offering summer internships for second year students, which is quite rare to find. And I wasn't really looking at oil and gas before, but I went home and started that application. I finished it halfway through and then kind of left it for a bit, started applying for the banks and IT companies, and got rejected from pretty much every place I applied to. It was quite competitive for a second year student, as I said as well, to get these kind of programs. But then I said, let me go back and finish the application for Shell. So I finished that off, and within a few weeks, I got the telephone interview. I passed that interview, had another telephone interview, and eventually I got the summer internship. I spent, I think it was 3 to 4 months in the summer of 2012 in London doing that internship, and it was an assessed internship, which meant that at the end of that process, if I was successful, I would be offered onto the graduate program. And at the end of that process, I had to give a pitch. It was like I was on The Apprentice or Dragon's Den, where I had to present the work I'd done during that period. And I had few assessors in the room who had to assess whether what I had delivered met the standards of the competencies of the company. I was successful through that process, and I was offered to join the graduate program in 2013. So I went back to university, finished my final year, and I already had a job offer waiting for me. So I didn't really look elsewhere during that period. I was quite happy with Shell at that time. I'd spent 3 to 4 months there, built a few connections, and was happy to start. But I was under the impression that my graduate program will also be in London. However, when I got the phone call, they told me that your graduate role will start in Aberdeen in Scotland. So that was a bit of a shock. So I had to make the move to Aberdeen in 2013. And my first role was geomatics and technical data management workflow advisor. And I had no clue what that was. So the job title was a bit overwhelming. And something I learned during that period was that the job title shouldn't really throw you off. It's all about how you can add value with the skills that you've acquired throughout your lifetime, and not necessarily having that level of expertise in that field. So even though I didn't really know anything about geomatics or subsurface and wells data, I applied other aspects and other strengths, such as my analytical skills, my problem solving skills, process improvement skills, and actually not coming from that background and having a different perspective helped. So that's how I tackled not having the expertise in that area, was really utilizing the other skills that I'd picked up. So I spent a couple years doing that. And then in 2015, I moved to Norway as a data analyst. So that was really working closely with exploration there, with a wide range of data types. It was seismic data, wells data, and trying to get value for the business in that area. In between, I actually moved back to Aberdeen in 2016, working with production. So it was all about using data to get the most out of our assets, to optimize production and to minimize downtime. So we had sensors on all the pieces of equipment, and we can predict when certain things were about to fail, and we can prevent those things from happening. Then I made a big shift in 2017 where I moved to the retail side of the business. So now I've had experience in exploration, production, and now it's retail. So I'm really getting a wide range of experience throughout the business. And for that role, I moved to Canada. I spent a year in Canada in the retail business. And in 2018, I was promoted to a team lead role to manage the team that I was working with in Canada. And I was doing that from London. So I was thinking about pivotal moment in my career. I think the biggest one was being promoted to the team lead role. I think that was the biggest shift in mindset, moving from it all being about your performance to it being all about the performance of your team. So that was the shift in mindset, because over the last few years, it was all about my achievements and what I had done personally. And that shift had to go towards I need to deliver through my team, and my performance will be judged based on the delivery of my team members. And a quote that stood out to me was from Simon Sinek, where he says, a boss has the title and a leader has the team, has the people. So that really stuck with me, where I need to focus on the people rather than myself. And that picture at the bottom is just me getting recognition a few months ago from the Canada business for my team delivery. So we're going to have a poll right now, and I want to know about your daily routine, whether you follow a daily routine. So if you go to slido.com and type #FTN, you should be able to get this answer. And if you can answer during this presentation, that would be great, and we can go to the poll at the end. So now I want to talk about the attributes for building an effective team. And this is just based on my experience. It's not set in stone that you have to do these things to build a good team, but I found that these things really help to build an effective team. The first one is to get everyone on board. I found that you need to explain your vision, and everyone needs to be aligned with that vision. I remember when I was in India meeting my team for the first time, I was under the impression that, or I could sense that some people felt that I may not have enough experience because I'm quite young for a leadership role, and other people might think that they've got more years of experience and deserve to be in that position. So I went in that meeting where I was giving an introduction about myself, and I said, look, I can understand that you may feel that I'm not that experienced, but it's all about what you've experienced, and this is how I can add value. So I just said that in front of 20 people in a room, and I think everyone was a bit shocked that I'm being that open about things. And I also mentioned that I'm new to this role, so there's going to be things that I'm learning along the way. So this is a learning journey for me as well. So you need to be patient with me, and I'll take things on board. The second one is to listen to the team. So really get their perspective rather than throwing your solution without listening to them first. So there's two things I did there. The first thing was I asked the team to tell me what they liked or disliked about their previous managers. And because most of them, half of my team were from external companies, they just joined, I'd hired them, and I didn't really know who their previous managers were. So we should be able to talk openly about that. So just by asking that question, I can gauge what they value most out of a manager. Is it that they value work-life balance, or do they want recognition? And each person has different answers, but just getting it out there lets me know, what people prefer. The second thing was I asked them, and this was my other team members who'd already been in the team and had worked for Shell for a couple of years, was that what things do we need to improve? What are the activities that you don't like doing? Can we get rid of those things? So we made a list of all the improvement areas, and I was part of that team myself, so I had a few inputs as well. But I think it's all about getting it from the team, writing it down, and then moving on to the next point is creating the shared goals to achieve them. And I think creating shared goals really helps with collaboration. It could be that you want some competitiveness in the team, but you also want people to work together on some things, because you might get people that throw each other under the bus because they want to be seen as the star of the group. But if you have shared goals, it means that two people can work together on one delivery. So that really helps. And it also encourages them to talk to each other if they don't necessarily talk to each other already. The next one is to know your team, to really understand what makes them tick, and also get to know them on a personal level. So I'm not into, we leave the personal stuff at home and then the professional stuff at work. The reality is that we spend most of our days at work. So get to know them personally, and that actually builds a lot of trust. Providing autonomy, mastery, and purpose is really important, and I got that from a book called Drive that was written by Daniel Pink. And those are the three things that motivate people. So I thought, when I'm managing a team, I need to provide my team autonomy, mastery, and purpose in order to motivate them. So autonomy is all about giving people the freedom to do things in the way they want to do things. So not giving them a set process or guidelines to follow or doing it in your way. Mastery is all about personal development. So ensuring that people are growing and getting better each day. And purpose is about your own personal purpose and also the purpose of the work they're doing. So does the work have meaning? They should understand how their work contributes to the bigger picture. Being present is really important. So I say that the most valuable gift that you can give someone is your time. So being present is not just about physically being there or always being available, but it's more about being fully engaged in that moment as well. So during that conversation, you're constantly listening to what that person has to say. Then we have regular feedback loops. So we want to know what's going on. How are we measuring success? And it's feedback both to myself on my performance and feedback on other people's performance. Because what we don't want to happen is to get to the end of the year and I'm telling my team members, yeah, you should have done this or you should have stepped up here and this wasn't really that good. It's a bit unfair to them to tell them right at the end of the year when I'm giving their performance reviews. So if we have that regular feedback, they can work on those things during the course of the year. And likewise, for myself, I'd like to know throughout the year if there's things that I need to improve. Then it's about celebrating success, whether it's big or large achievements, we should always celebrate it. Delegation is a difficult one. I think as a new manager coming in, being able to delegate is quite difficult because you were doing those things before and it's hard to let go of those activities because you feel that you could do them better. So it's about letting go of your ego, giving other people the opportunity to delegate or giving other people the opportunity to take on those activities. And I think there's three different scenarios for delegation. One, it's if it's urgent and quite critical, I would delegate it to someone who has really good skills in that area. If it's not so critical, but I think that it's a development area for someone, that I would give it to them so they can develop that skill. Or like I would give it to someone the third scenario is to give it to someone just to stretch them, whether it's their development area or not, just to see how they deal with it. And if they fail, there's nothing wrong with that. We can only learn from it. Then the last one is continuous improvement, to continue to get better, continue to add value, keep getting rid of the waste and become more efficient. And as a result, we can have a productive team. So there's three takeaways that I want to share with you. And it's not just about for team leadership, I think we can apply these to our daily lives as well. So serving your team, you work for them, they don't work for you. That was one of my takeaways, is that I need to do everything in my power to empower my team, to make sure they reach their full potential, to give them a platform to learn and to grow. The next one is show vulnerability. It's not a weakness. I find that if you're honest about certain things, and you say, if someone asks you a question, that you say, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I'll go find the answer for you. I think that actually builds your credibility, rather than thinking that because you're a team leader that you should have all the answers. So just being open and honest in those situations actually builds your credibility, because it humanizes you. It makes you look like you're not superior to anyone else. So that is my second takeaway. And the third one is listen, seek to understand, not to be understood. So we always fall in the trap of trying to put things onto people, but if we sit back and actually listen to them, we can understand what they're saying. There's a quote from the Dalai Lama which says that when we speak, we're only repeating what we know, but when we listen, we might learn something new. So that's an important takeaway as well.
Thank you very much. We can now jump to Q&A. So just as a quick reminder for anyone watching, you can ask a question either in the comments section or using slido.com with the code FTN if you want to ask it anonymously. Something that comes to mind based on what you were saying was around the importance of feedback, both asking for it and receiving it. And I think it's an art form to be able to receive feedback in the right way, especially as a team leader. Have you, and this is a very personal question, but like, have you had any examples where you've received feedback and you've had to really, like, you struggle to just deal with it? And how did you process it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult sometimes when there could be just one person that gives you that feedback, right, where the other people within your team are not getting that vibe. So there's one person that stands out. I think it's just important to take it on and listen, and not be too offended by certain things, because that's just someone's opinion, and just to acknowledge it and take steps to improve for that person. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to change your whole behavior because one person said, I'm not happy with this, but I'll take it by case basis. But I think receiving feedback is always difficult for anyone, right? It's not something people take with open arms all the time. Like, we can get a bit defensive. Like, our immediate reaction is to say, well, I'm not like that. But I think it's just take a step back, digest it, don't react to it. I think that's my advice there.
I've had off the back of that. I've had scenarios where it's been feedback from one person and they've maybe just misunderstood something, and it wasn't the intention behind it. It just came across like that. So it was like, okay, I fully acknowledge and hear it, and then you've just become just a bit more aware, and it's just kind of a one-off piece of feedback.
Yeah.
Olivia, you go with your next one.
Thanks. I know I wanted to ask a question based upon, I guess, that and a point you made before about when you're managing a team, the success of yourself as an individual is the accumulation of the individual success of the members. And so going from an individual to a lead, you were talking about how briefly, but you spoke about how you had to hire people. And I imagine over time, you've had a very good sense as to maybe what traits work with you as a leader, what traits you look for in order to make an effective team. So what traits do you look for when you're hiring people in order to not only make this sense of camaraderie, but also to make a team that you can effectively manage?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest, I've learned a lot during the hiring process. So there's a lot of things I would change in terms of the way I hired if I was to do it again. So there's a lot of learnings from that. That was the first time I was hiring people. So I'd look out for a lot more things the next time. But I think it's about having a variety of different people. So understanding the dynamic of the team you want to have, and it's about having a variety that not every person is the same, and each person can bring different things to the table. I think if we had everyone that was the same, we wouldn't have a good team. So within my team, there were specific people for specific kinds of projects or kinds of activities. I can't really pinpoint exactly, but there were some people that were more technical, or some people that are good at the requirement stuff. But there's some people, that are more into design. There's some people that are amazing at giving presentations, and you can put them in front of your stakeholders. But there's other people that get the job done and they're really hardworking. So it's just about having that variety of people in your team.
We're having a lot of questions come through. So actually, it's quite interesting. One that I was thinking. So how did you find moving into a non-English speaking country for work? Was this something out of your own initiative, or was it a chain of command? Was you kind of just placed there? So this would be when you...
Yeah. So I'll start off with the non-English speaking part. So in Norway, they actually speak really good English. So English wasn't a problem in that perspective. I never had a problem communicating out there, but it is a bit awkward when your whole team speaks Norwegian and the only reason they're doing their meetings in English is because of you. So that felt a bit weird that I've just come in there and ruined the party and everyone's forced to speak English because of me. So I did have a few Norwegian lessons just to integrate and say a few words, but not in terms of having a conversation. But I think we're lucky in the Scandinavian countries, they speak pretty good English. So even kids at a young age can speak fluent English. So the language wasn't really a problem. And the second part of the question around, was it my choice? It wasn't. Well, it was a choice that I could have turned down, but it was, I was asked to go. And I think it came about because for my second rotation, I was advised to go to, well, the offer they gave me was to work with a team that I basically worked with anyway, and I wanted a change, and I just made that clear, but I wasn't expecting to get moved to a different country. So I think it was just, I made the point that I want to experience something different. I already work with these people. I want a new kind of role. And they said, well, you can add a lot of value with what you're doing to the team in Norway, because they don't have that expertise. So it was like a knowledge gap and also opportunity for me.
I think what's quite interesting is I'm pretty sure we first met would have been virtually. I think you were in Canada or Norway. So you're still able to connect with people no matter what country you're in, which is really cool. I'm going to wrap two questions together, which are kind of similar. So it's focusing on your role as team lead. So what do you bring to the table? And this one is quite personal, are you happy with your current role as team lead?
What do I bring to the table? Well, I think, especially if you get promoted in role, right, that person who gave you that promotion has trust in your abilities. So if you're promoted in role, it means, but I hope it means that you're pretty good at what you were doing before. So in that sense, there's a reason that I got the promotion. It was because of my performance in that role. So in terms of what I bring to the table, it was expertise in that area. So I trained all the new team members up. I basically gave everything I knew to them so they can get to that level. And I think it's about how I am with people, that I get the best out of people, and that kind of leadership attributes has been around for a long time. Like since I was young, my first job was a tennis coach. I've always volunteered. I've enjoyed that coaching aspect since I was young. So that has always been in me, and I've enjoyed personal development. Getting the best out of people is what I enjoy the most. And I'm happy with the current role. I think I love team leadership. Just watching people grow is the best feeling.
There must be a lot of pride in seeing people who you've hired for a team effort and to grow, not only yourself, but also the team. And it seems to me that you've got a plethora of experience, from tennis coaching to the ambition of originally becoming a dentist, and now you're a team lead at Shell. And of course, early on in the episode, you were talking about how it's not just about the quantity of experience, but it's also about the quality, and that can add to a role. And in relation to that, we've had a question from the live audience, which is about, in your experience so far and how you've navigated your career, do you have any regrets that you have now? And if so, what have you learned from them?
Regrets.
Do you wish you
were one? No, definitely not. That's a tough one. I haven't really thought about that, to be honest.
So while you ponder that one,
let me think about that one.
We've also got the results from the poll around, do you follow a daily routine? So majority, over half, said sometimes, and then an equal split of people saying yes or no. So most people either don't have a routine or only sometimes have one. Can you kind of do you have a routine? I'm assuming there was a reason why you asked that question.
Yeah, it's something that I've got into recently, to be honest. And I think when you come out of university, you take on bad habits. So you wake up at different times of the day because you might not have a lecture the next day. You're out partying. You don't have that set structure, I think. And for me, I came out of university with those bad habits. I wasn't eating well in my final year, a lot of junk food. And recently I've just made that shift where I've got a morning routine, try to get up at the same time every single day, meditate, go for a run, do a lot of journaling in the morning and at night. And I plan my whole day the night before, so I know exactly what I need to do, what my goals are, what my targets are the day before. And that has honestly just changed my life in terms of productivity. So getting that done in the morning has just made me more productive at work. So I think that's something I'd encourage everyone to really do. And there's a lot of research on that sort of thing.
That's really interesting. And I guess because of lockdown, even more so, especially with certain personality types, it's important to have a routine, not only for, I guess, mental health, but also just to get things done effectively. I do have one more question before we wrap up, though. The question is about, I guess, how you work as a team leader. and the fact that in the past, especially so far, you've been given opportunities to move abroad to help a team to add value. And of course, now we're in a world whereby there's a lot more emphasis in remote working. So with that, how do you feel it may be in terms of being present with the team and the ability to work remotely? Do you feel that team leaders will have to find new ways to be effective, to manage from afar? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a really good question and really relevant for the future ways of working. In my situation, I've been managing my team remotely. So from London, managing my team in Canada and India, I was fortunate to meet them and spend a lot of time with them face to face, which built those relationships. But I can imagine if in the future where we're hiring people and we're not traveling as much, we might not ever get to see our team members or spend face-to-face time. So that will be a challenge. I think the best way to do it is just to have the regular engagements, have the video calls, to really build that trust. But I do think it is a challenge if you can't build those relationships face to face. That will be a challenge, but I think it's just frequent engagements and at least have visuals rather than just audio, and get to know people on a personal level, so it's not just about work.
Just to add to that, I think it's really interesting. So one of my very first roles, I worked with someone who, you know, they weren't a million miles away. They were in Manchester, I was in London. And we got on so well just because I think it was two types of personalities where you just got on quite well talking on the phone. And what amazed me was we probably only met a handful of times, but we had such a strong relationship. And I think it's just even dropping in them calls just to be like, how are you? Like, how was your weekend? It adds to it.
Yeah. Those are the sort of things that are missed in like our current environment, right? Where you're not in the office. Normally, if you're in the office, you'll go grab a coffee with someone, or they'll come to your desk and just ask how your weekend's been. So it's about adding those elements into the virtual working. I know a lot of people having virtual coffees where they'll have a coffee together on camera. So it's about incorporating those kind of activities that you would get in an office, and not it all just being about work, but asking, like you said, Ryan, like, how's your weekend been and what have you been up to?
Cool. So Olivia, what have we got up next?
Right. So if you go to the next slide, tell you what's going to happen after this episode. Great. So this has been a fantastic episode because, of course, we hear many people who are leading teams. We never get to really understand the mindset applied in order to manage a team effectively, and especially seeing the journey of someone coming from an individual to a team lead, especially someone so young. So, Sina, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to have you on. We are going to be we're going to be summarizing your episode in a PDF, which we call an episode highlight document, and that will be available on the Tech Allies Network website, specifically on the Finding True North webpage, and the URL is on the screen right now. That will be released on Friday, the 29th of May. The next episode is going to be Wednesday, 3rd of June, where we're going to have Jessica from Dyson, who has an interesting story, initially coming from applied social science to now working in a technical role. From June, however, we're going to have a new start time. It's going to be 5 o'clock British summer time. So effectively, if you're in a different time zone, it's just an hour and a half from when we first started. And I guess that's all I have to say. I guess, Ryan, have you got anything else?
Nothing else. Just a massive thank you, Sina, for joining. It's been great.
You're welcome. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions, reach out to me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer your questions if I didn't get to answer them today.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.